Does Lamar have to win a Super Bowl to change the narrative?
Oh, 100%. Lamar has to go win the Super Bowl. Winning MVP no longer matters. Getting to the Super Bowl does not matter. I think, and hear me when I say this, Molly, Kimberly, Stephen A., and everybody, this is not pandering. This is not caping. This is the dead honest truth. And there's a little bit of insight to this. People that sound, or players that sound, look, and play like Lamar Jackson were never supposed to win Super Bowls in the NFL. In people's eyes, they were never supposed to win Super Bowls in the NFL. You weren't supposed to be able to stand on the podium and sound the way that Lamar does when he talks, or look the way that Lamar does when he talks, or play like the way that Lamar plays and win a Super Bowl. You might be good. You might win an MVP. There's people in the league, and they have publicly said, I don't care how many MVPs he wins. He will never win a Super Bowl playing quarterback. I don't care what they say. I think Lamar is very aware of that. I think Lamar is very aware of the, no matter what I do, until I win a Super Bowl, people are always going to think that I should have played running back. And that people that look like me, or kids that look like me, or come from the background that I do, or sound like I do, can't go play quarterback and win a Super Bowl in the NFL. Here's the thing for me, Stephen A., Kimberly, and Molly. We've had other black quarterbacks win Super Bowls in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes has won. Russell Wilson has won. Doug Williams has won. But when we hear those names at quarterback, we think throw first. We think a thrower or a passer first. We don't with Lamar. Most people think runner with Lamar. Most people think of athlete with Lamar. And for him to go win a Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl, it completely changes the narrative around Lamar. It completely changes the narrative around that position when it comes to players that look and sound and play like Lamar, not only for people that are close to his age, but kids that watch Lamar. And I think their organization's very aware of it. I think their head coach is abundantly aware of it. And I think Lamar is very unapologetically aware of it, that he can't just get there. He has to win it.
I think it's very difficult for a lot of people to be black in America and not understand that the same rules do not apply to you. Like, that's the reality, right? And so when you say Lamar is very aware of it, he understands. He understands. I was there in front of the podium at the combine when he was coming out, and the questions that he was asked, and I was so impressed with how he handled it, because the minute he stepped behind the mic, people immediately questioned why he was here, why he thought he could be a quarterback. Now you have this season where he's the clear MVP, and yet people will tell you, nope, Josh Allen should be it. This season, people will bring up, and Doggy and I get into it every Wednesday about Lamar Jackson. People will bring up that he's 1-3 in the playoffs, yet don't add the context of the fact that Lamar is literally a more improved version of the unanimous MVP pick that we saw in 2019. This is not a guy who has regressed. In fact, his game has gotten better every year. When anonymous executives are like, oh yeah, the league's figured out Lamar Jackson. Have you? It doesn't appear that way. Now, this weekend is a pivotal game for him. It should not matter. Let me stop. It should be enough for him to just reach the Super Bowl. But because of blatant racism, we have prejudice that's cloaked in this framework of traditional football is supposed to look and sound and behave like this, and just general, hey, when it comes to QBs, my preference is complete 6'4", stand in the pocket, just throw it. Because of all of those things, I think people discount Lamar at every turn. And people think I'm a Lamar apologist, but no, I'm watching a young man who, despite all the criticism, has risen to the occasion. When he was asked to do more with less for several years, Baltimore finally gave him weapons, and we're seeing him command this offense, an offense that's suited for his skill set, and he's allowed to flourish. People are still waiting for the but. So unfortunately, he does have to win a Super Bowl, and that's what he intends to do.
Well, I just wanted to point out that, you know, when Dan brings up, how, typically the prototypical quarterback didn't look nor sound like a Lamar Jackson. He's absolutely right. And what happens is throughout history on too many occasions, things of that nature were used and to this day are still used in various avenues of our lives to pigeonhole and marginalize folks. And that's the beauty of sports. And I think it's important to bring that out because sports is the closest thing I believe we have in this country to a meritocracy, where you can go out there and perform and that proverbial glass ceiling isn't hovering over you and holding you down and holding you back. Because I assure you, if there was a proverbial glass ceiling, Lamar Jackson would have been held back. Folks already tried. They tried to get him not to be a quarterback. They tried to get him to be a running back. They tried to dissuade him from doing what he knew he could do. And this innate belief in himself, this elevated level of confidence pushed him forward. Even when he was representing himself, all of us questioned it because we talked about how agents and what have you are connected to the NFL culture and they have the connections and they have the relationships and how unwise it was for him to be a representative for himself. And what did he do? He goes out there and he gets his $260 million contract. That's what he did. And then he goes back out onto the field and he performs. Think about all the quarterbacks we're looking at and think about what the NFL has opened itself up to. Because now that you've seen this guy go out on the field and perform that way, no, he may not come across as the most polished individual in the world. Who cares? He goes about the business of doing his job on a very, very, very elite level, and it's opened up opportunities for a whole bunch of people down the pike who may look a little bit like him, who may sound a little bit like him, and it's not going to get stopped. That is the beauty and the greatness and the appreciation we should show to Lamar Jackson, and him winning a Super Bowl would just be icing on the cake.
When you talk about Lamar Jackson, I think people have to understand the burden that he's also playing with. Like, it's not just I'm doing this for myself, for my team. Within that organization, sitting down with members of the front office, talking about what he means to the community and how that's so important. Like his role in Baltimore, it's not just about championships, it's about what he means to this city that's filled with people that look just like him. Like, I think we're talking about football, but Lamar's place in it goes beyond just the X's and O's and the final scores. And unfortunately, he doesn't talk about it publicly, but we all know. Like, we all know the journey that he's on. We all know what it's like.
He has people close to him who speak for him in that regard. In that regard, with stuff like that, there are people connected to his life who will disseminate that message on his behalf. He chooses not to do that himself.
Yes, 100%. But he is keenly aware of the expectations and what it is to be a guy who's not the prototypical QB, frame, physique, all that. Look, he understands the importance of that, and he's authentic. He is who he is, and there is something that I wish people didn't spend so much time trying to nitpick and move the goalposts on him, because when you spend so much time doing that, you are missing one of the greatest talents right now that we have in the NFL, when you celebrate the talents of a Josh Allen and a Joe Burrow and a Patrick Mahomes, not saying they're all equal in talent, but they're all special. And Lamar should be celebrated in that same way. Unfortunately for Lamar, people will not, once he wins a Super Bowl, then no one can say anything.
Yeah.
That's the shame of it.
I think there's still a couple things attached to this, on top of it. This is a little bit attached to last year and Jalen. And Jalen, while he was great, didn't win. And people hang on to that. And again, the style of play, and can that win you the Super Bowl? I think so often when a quarterback wins the Super Bowl, it is like impactful and transformational for every guy. If Josh Allen goes and wins the Super Bowl, it's for his own, legacy, and the Buffalo Bills get one. Matthew Stafford won one a couple years ago, and it was his own, his Hall of Fame type of resume. If Lamar gets one, it is so much, there's so much many more tentacles attached to it than just, well, Lamar finally got one. It is, I'm not saying this, I'm a white dude. It is significantly bigger than just Lamar Jackson and the Ravens won the Super Bowl. It is very much so that player that 20, 30, 40 years ago wasn't supposed to in the NFL. That's a very real thing. And I think it's important for us to give credit to Baltimore as an organization and give credit to John Harbaugh that they never once tried to change him, on or off the field. They never once tried to change the style of play. They never once tried to change the way he talked or the way he looked. That's happened in the league before. And I think it's important for us to notify that and recognize that. And I think that's been one of the reasons why you've seen the flourish of the talent on the field. And I just think him winning one is significantly bigger than, great, the Ravens quarterback won one.
The only thing that I'd like to add on that is that, and this is not throwing any kind of negative whatsoever on professional athletes, but it's a little easier to do because, again, it's a meritocracy. So in the end, what you do is what you do on far too many occasions, no matter what we do throughout corporate America and beyond. It's not just about your level of production. It's about presentation. It's about appearances. It's about so many things that are behind the curtain where people get to shift and manipulate narratives in such a way that even the greatness that you put forth can become a bit convoluted.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it would serve to minimize and dissipate and diminish what you've accomplished. You can't get away with that with a professional athlete.